That was Michael Anthony, okay? 100% dedicated, never did anything to hurt those guys, and they tried to hurt him again and again and again.
Behind Van Halen's thunderous riffs and headline-grabbing feuds, one man quietly held the band together, Michael Anthony. His story goes beyond bass lines and backing vocals. It's a tale of unwavering loyalty, crushed credits, and betrayal uncovered online. Even as Eddie's solos and Dave's theatrics stole the limelight, Anthony's steady pulse powered every arena-shaking performance. Born into a family of musicians, Michael Anthony grew up with trumpet fanfares echoing through his home thanks to his father, Walter Sobolewski. That early immersion sparked Michael's fascination with sound and performance. By his teens, he followed Walter's footsteps in school bands and marching ensembles, learning discipline, timing, and the magnetic thrill of live music. At 13, Michael craved something different from his peers, who strummed guitars or pounded drums. He borrowed a friend's Fender Mustang, removed 2 strings, and transformed it into a makeshift bass, proving his ingenuity. Seeing his dedication, Walter gifted him a precision-style bass and a Gibson amp, unleashing Michael's commitment to mastering the instrument. He devoured records by Jack Bruce, John Paul Jones, and Harvey Brooks, training his ear on their fluid grooves and melodic runs. Though left-handed, he taught himself to play right-handed, an early testament to his determination. In the early 70s, Michael toured through the Southern California club circuit with the trio Snake. Handling both bass and lead vocals, he led covers of rock classics and unveiled original songs at high school dances, fests, and smoky bars. Night after night, he refined his stage presence, building confidence under flickering neon lights. Fate intervened when Snake shared a bill with Mammoth, Eddie and Alex Van Halen's hard-charging outfit, at a Pasadena gig. When Mammoth's PA gear failed, Michael lent them Snake's equipment so the show could go on. That act of professionalism and kindness left a deep impression on the Van Halen brothers, planting the seeds of future alliance. Mammoth's bases parted soon after, and the Van Halens remembered Michael's skill and generosity. They invited him to a jam in Eddie's garage, where amps buzzed, pedals squealed, and 4 musicians clicked instantly. Michael's driving bass and soaring harmonies meshed perfectly with Alex's thunderous drums and Eddie's virtuosic guitar. In a swift move, Mammoth rebranded as Van Halen and welcomed Michael Anthony as their new bassist. With David Lee Roth on vocals, Eddie on guitar, Alex on drums, and Michael anchoring the low end, Van Halen's classic lineup was born. Their synergy was electric, setting the stage for a rock revolution. Signed by Warner Brothers in 1977, Van Halen's self-titled debut burst onto the scene in 1978. On Runnin' with the Devil and Ain't Talk About Love, Michael's bass lines locked the band's groove. His high-pitched backing vocals added punch to Jamie's Crying and Feel Your Love Tonight, elevating each chorus. Critics raved and rock fans flocked to sold-out shows, drawn by the band's raw power and Michael's solid backbone. On stage, Michael's grin was contagious as he synced with Eddie's guitar fireworks and Alex's relentless drums. David's showmanship soared atop that foundation, but without Michael's steady grooves and harmonies, the spectacle would have collapsed. Time and again, he proved that a great bassist isn't just heard, he's felt in every thunderous chord and every chorus. Initially, Anthony shared equally in Van Halen's financial success, splitting profits and shouldering expenses alongside Roth and the Van Halen brothers. As the band pumped out platinum albums, Van Halen 2, Women and Children First, Fair Warning, Michael's role as a full partner underscored the brotherhood behind the madness. But fame and fortune brought new pressures. As Van Halen's popularity exploded, internal power struggles silently shifted the balance. Management deals and label negotiations grew murky, and Michael sensed decisions slipping beyond his reach. Despite that, he remained fiercely loyal, his focus never straying from the music and the bond that had formed in a humble garage. By 1984, Van Halen had ascended to rock royalty. The 1984 album shot to #1 with Jump, Panama, and Hot for a teacher dominating the airwaves. Yet behind the scenes, Michael Anthony faced his darkest hour. On the eve of a sold-out show, he was handed paperwork that stripped him of all future songwriting credits and royalties, retroactive to the 1984 release itself. Eddie and Alex Van Halen, along with David Lee Roth, loomed over him as he signed under duress, terrified a refusal might derail the tour. Within hours, Michael's name vanished from credits he had earned with every note and harmony. 1984 went on to sell over 10 million copies in the U.S. alone. Yet Anthony saw none of the publishing or licensing windfall. Despite the staggering betrayal, he held his silence, determined to keep the band together and honor the music they had built. When David Lee Roth departed in 1985, skeptics wondered if Michael would stay. True to form, he dug in deep for the Sammy Hagar years, laying down bass on 5150, OU812, and for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. His driving lines on Why Can't This Be Love and When It's Love, plus those signature harmonies, kept Van Halen's power undimmed. Even as tensions flared between Hagar and the brothers, Anthony's pulse remained rock steady, his loyalty unwavering. In 1996, Hagar bowed out and Gary Cherone stepped up for Van Halen 3. Critics were mixed, but Michael stayed the course, touring relentlessly, anchoring each show with precision, while his colleagues weathered creative storms. His dedication reminded fans that no matter frontman, Van Halen's heartbeat was still that familiar bass groove and soaring backup vocal. As Van Halen geared up in 2006 for the long-awaited Roth reunion tour, Michael Anthony expected a warm welcome back. Instead, he learned via Van Halen's official website, no phone call, no heads up, that he was out and Eddie's teenage son Wolfgang would play bass. After decades of sacrifice and unshakable support, Michael's departure was announced in a cold internet post. Imagine decades of pouring heart and soul into a band, only to be dismissed by a text update. Michael later described the gut-wrenching sting. After giving his all, he was replaced without a single human conversation. Yet he faced the blow with characteristic grace, refusing public rancor, simply wishing his former bandmates well. Rather than fade away, Michael turned adversity into opportunity. In 2008, he co-founded Chickenfoot alongside Sammy Hagar on vocals, Joe Satriani on guitar, and Chad Smith on drums. Their self-titled 2009 debut soared to number 4 on Billboard, proof that Anthony's star power translated beyond Van Halen. On Oh Yeah and Soap on a Rope, his bass grooves propelled new hits, while harmonies recalled Van Halen's golden age. Chickenfoot's global tours rekindled Michael's passion for live performance, igniting arenas once more. In 2007, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame acknowledged Van Halen's impact, but only the classic members were initially listed. Fan uproar prompted the hall to include Michael Anthony alongside Roth, Eddie, and Alex on the induction stage. As he accepted his medal, the crowd roared, a triumphant ode to his unacknowledged contributions and a long-overdue salute to the bassists who held it all together. Never one to rest on laurels, Michael unveiled his first solo album M2 in 2020, blending original songs with reimagined Van Halen classics. He proved his creative spark still burned bright. Tracks like World Peace showcase his songwriting depth, while revamped takes on Right Now reminded fans why his harmonies were legendary. Michael Anthony's journey, from trumpet-playing youth to Van Halen's unsung hero, teaches the power of steadfast devotion. He weathered contract betrayals, lineup upheavals, and internet-era dismissals without bitterness, always putting the music first. His grace under fire underscores that true rock greatness often lives in those who stand quietly just off stage, holding the beat that drives the legends. Today, Eddie's riffs and David's showmanship remain iconic, but Michael's story offers a deeper truth. A band's heartbeat isn't measured by solo spotlights, but by the foundation that makes every note soar. His unwavering loyalty, even when betrayed, cements his place as rock's greatest team player. Whether anchoring a Van Halen classic or igniting Chickenfoot's revival, Michael Anthony proved that while frontmen may shine, it's the bassist pulse that keeps rock and roll alive. Stand up, fans. Honor the man whose low-end rhythm carried rock's mightiest engine. Behind Van Halen's thunderous guitar solos and Dave Lee Roth's high-octane showmanship, one man quietly held it all together, Michael Anthony. His story isn't just bass lines and backup vocals. It's a saga of fierce loyalty, stolen credits, and online betrayal that shocked rock fans everywhere. Michael Anthony grew up surrounded by sound. His dad, Walter Sobolewski, was a trumpet player whose rehearsals filled the house with brassy fanfares and late-night jazz jams. Young Michael absorbed every note, joining school bands and mastering marching band drills with disciplined passion. Even as classmates picked guitars or bashed drums, he felt drawn to the deeper pulse of the bass guitar, an instinct that would define his life. At 13, Michael craved something different. He borrowed a friend's Fender Mustang, removed 2 strings, and turned it into a homemade bass. Recognizing his fire, Walter soon gifted him a precision-style bass copy and a Gibson amp, game-changing tools that fueled his obsession. He devoured albums by Cream's Jack Bruce and Led Zeppelin's John Paul Jones, practicing their grooves until his fingers bled. Though naturally left-handed, he forced himself to play right-handed, another proof of his determination. In the early 70s, Michael hit LA's club circuit with Snake, a raw power trio that mixed blistering blues and hard rock. As both bassist and lead singer, he tore through covers and debuted original songs at high school dances, local fests, and sweaty bars. Night after night, he sharpened his stage chops, learning to feed off audiences' energy and lock in the band's groove. Then fate intervened. At a gig in Pasadena, Snake shared a bill with Mammoth, Eddie and Alex Van Halen's act. When Mammoth's PA gear failed, Michael lent them Snake's equipment, so the show could go on. That act of rock and roll camaraderie left a lasting impression on Eddie and Alex, who saw in Michael not just a musician, but a rock brother. Soon after, Mammoth's bassist quit, and the brothers remembered Michael's prowess. They invited him to a garage jam, tiny space, buzzing amps, and 4 musicians clicking instantly. Michael's steady bass and soaring harmonies completed the lineup, with David Lee Roth on vocals and Alex on drums. Mammoth became Van Halen, with Roth fronting, Eddie shredding, Alex pounding, and Michael anchoring the low end. Van Halen's classic quartet was born. Their chemistry was electric, setting a new standard for arena-filling rock power. Van Halen's self-titled debut exploded in 1978. Runnin' with the Devil and Ain't Talkin' About Love ripped through AM radio, and Michael's tight bass grooves locked in Eddie's wild riffs. His high-pitched backing vocals on Jamie's Cryin' and Feel Your Love Tonight added melodic punch that fans still sing along to today. On stage, Michael was a force of nature, grinning behind his bass neck, locking in with Alex's drums, and weaving his voice into David's flamboyant leads. Without his rock-solid foundation and harmonic power, the band sound would have collapsed under its own energy. In those early years, Anthony was a full partner, splitting profits, sharing debts, and making decisions alongside Roth and the Van Halen brothers. As the band churned out platinum albums, their brotherhood felt unbreakable, but success brought new pressures. Label demands intensified, money talks got murky, and Michael sensed decisions slipping beyond his control. Still, he stayed committed, his loyalty to the music unshaken. By 1984, Van Halen had reached stratospheric heights. The album 1984 stormed to number 1, driven by Jump Panama and Hot for Teacher. Behind the scenes, however, Michael Anthony faced his darkest hour. On the eve of a sold-out arena show, he was handed a contract stripping him of all future songwriting credits and royalties, retroactive to the 1984 release itself. Eddie and Alex Van Halen, with David Lee Roth looming over him, pressured Michael to sign under duress, terrified the tour might collapse otherwise. When that contract took effect, his name vanished from credits he had earned note by note and harmony by harmony. Rather than blow up in fury, Michael swallowed his pride to keep the band's momentum alive. 1984 sold over 10 million copies in the U.S., yet Anthony's publishing share evaporated. Still, he hit the stage night after night, his unwavering bass and soaring backing vocals powering every anthem, even when his own stake was stolen. When Roth walked away in 1985, many expected Michael to follow. Instead, he doubled down. In the Sammy Hagar era, 5150, OU812 for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, he laid down the grooves on Why Can't This Be Love and lifted choruses on When It's Love. Even as tensions flared between Hagar and the Van Halen brothers, Anthony's pulse never wavered. The late 90s brought Gary Cherone for Van Halen 3. Critics flinched, but Michael remained rock steady, touring relentlessly and anchoring every song. His professionalism reminded all the band's heartbeat was still that bass groove and crystal clear harmonies. In 2006, Fans buzz at news of the Roth reunion, but Michael Anthony learned his own fire in the coldest way possible, via Van Halen's official website. No call, no warning, just an online bulletin, replacing him with Eddie's teenage son Wolfgang. After decades of sacrifice, his departure had become an impersonal erasure. Rather than lash out, Michael issued a gracious statement saying he wished his former bandmates all the best. He refused to fan the flames, proving his character was as rock-solid as his bass lines. Refusing to fade away, Michael co-founded Chickenfoot in 2008 with Sammy Hagar, guitarist Joe Satriani, and drummer Chad Smith. Their 2009 debut blasted into the top 5 on Billboard, proof that Anthony's star power shone outside Van Halen. On Oh Yeah and Soap on a Rope, his grooves thundered and harmonies soared, rekindling arenas worldwide. In 2007, Van Halen entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Michael's name was initially omitted. Fan uproar forced the Academy's hand, summoning Anthony on stage alongside Roth, Eddie, and Alex. The crowd's roar finally honored the bassist who held that band's engine together. Never one to rest, Michael released his solo album M2 in 2020, blending originals with reimagined Van Halen classics. He proved his creative spark still burned bright. Tracks like World Peace showcase his songwriting depth, reminding fans that his musical flame still blazed. In 2015, Eddie stunned listeners by claiming he had to teach Mike every note, a swipe at Anthony's skill. Fans and musicians rose up, calling the charge unfair. Michael insisted no such lessons ever happened. Studio tapes and eyewitnesses would have confirmed it. Still, Eddie's words stung, driving a deeper wedge between longtime friends. By the late 1990s, Michael's creative role had quietly been eroded. On Van Halen 3, he played bass on only 3 of 11 tracks. On the 2004 Best of Both Worlds compilation, he appeared on new songs only as a backing vocalist. His one central role was reduced to that of a hired hand. After Eddie's death in 2020, whispers of a tribute tour grew. Alex Van Halen reached out to Michael and David Lee Roth. Joe Satriani was invited too, but Roth balked at tribute formats. Alex faced health issues, and the tour plans fell apart, dashing hopes for a final full-circle reunion. Valerie Bertinelli, Eddie's ex-wife and Wolfgang's mother, has vowed no biopic during her lifetime, fearing Hollywood sensationalism of Eddie's struggles. Her stance, echoed by Wolfgang, prioritizes authenticity over exploitation. Today, Wolfgang Van Halen leads Mammoth WVH, crafting music that honors his father's legacy without cheap nostalgia. He's also curating Eddie's vault of unreleased recordings, only be released with care. Rumors swirl. But Wolfgang stresses he can't exist without my dad, and any posthumous project must respect Eddie's integrity. Michael Anthony's journey reveals rock's deeper truth. A band's power isn't just frontman flair or guitar heroics, but the steady pulse that holds it all together. Through contract betrayals, online fire, and erased credits, he showed grace under fire, demonstrating that true greatness lies in unsung devotion. In a world of spotlight hogs, Michael's dignity shines brightest of all. Stand up, fans, his low-end rhythm still powers rock and roll.